So you want to see how I tricked my way to a chest of legends? What started as an interesting journey towards the shores of gold soon turned into an unexpected alliance involving a very angry and determined galleon and some kegs. This was by far the greatest part of my journey so far, with many twists and turns. So join me, Captain Daddy, as I tell you my next tale towards the shores of gold. As I sailed my way over to the next destination, narrowly avoiding a galleon who luckily didn't seem too interested in me, I was told to meet up with a pirate that goes by the name of Salty. But upon reaching Plunder Valley and searching around, I finally found a journal for me to view. But perched above it was a skeleton parrot. This was unexpected, and as he was talking to me of a trapmaker whom had been kidnapped, I was more concerned with whether I found Suds, the old slow-talking codger from the North Star Sea Post, or Salty, the high-pitched squawking parrot, more annoying. Either way, once they had finished telling me about them, I took the journal and began searching through the pages, reading of this trapmaker's final footsteps, before following the trail they had left behind. This led me to a cave, and as I entered, skeleton remains were found everywhere, sitting around holding the grog they never finished, or holding each other's hands. Following the riddles, I manoeuvred the arms of the pirate's remains, and upon manoeuvring the final one, there was a sudden click, and a cage began to fall to the ground. Inside was none other than the trapmaker themselves, holding on to some note and a peculiar spyglass in which, once looked through, seems like you were seeing two eyes with a cross in the mouth. The notes talked of a specific mark, which luckily while searching for Salty originally, I had seen one or two of these on the ground, so I set off on the hunt for them again. Upon finding one of these and using the spyglass, I quickly figured out how to solve this, matching the two objects seen in the riddles in the journal before digging where the X is shown. Honestly, this took me a good while trying to figure out where the correct ones were. However, eventually I had discovered the first, digging up, yep, another note, to go off and find yet another one. This was repeated 3 times before something rather unexpected happened. I dug up a purple barrel, which seemed to be some kind of explosive, but as I did, explosions were getting closer and closer to me. I ran with the keg as fast as I could, hoping that I could outrun them until I saw a cave that I hid in until they had finally stopped. This was a thrill, and honestly completely unexpected, but now I had to figure out what I was to do next. I took this keg back to my ship, and whilst doing so, that is when I saw it. The Reaper at the Fort of the Damned. As much as I wanted it, I knew it had only just gone there, and I was now on a timer to finish this quest. However, after discovering this keg was actually a key, I now had to take it to its destination. This turned out to be Sailor's Bounty on the other side of the seas, so I had to make haste if I wanted to get back in time to steal some loot. After a long sail, I had made it to the island, and upon taking the keg into the tunnel, I noticed I would have to carry it through all sorts of traps. I finally reached the end, after ducking and dodging many contraptions, seeing an open area with a plinth in the centre. I placed the key on top, and as I did, the skeletons kept rising from the ground, waves and waves of them, but all fell victim to my blade. Until finally, after a long fight, the captain of the lair decided to show up. And whilst more battling, I had noticed a lever on the wall. I pulled it, not knowing what to expect, but as I did, spikes arose from the ground, killing not only my foes, but also me. After arriving back from the ferry, I found in this room another totem for the vault. This one being for Crescent Isle, so I grabbed it, took it on board and headed out towards this, hoping there wasn't much longer left so I could make my way over to the fort. Upon arriving at Crescent, I unlocked the vault door, and once inside I lit the braziers and the hidden door just opened. and there I could see the gem waiting for me, no puzzles this time. So I picked it up, and suddenly, the doors closed behind me, and more skeletons arose from the ground. 3 waves of 3 skeletons, each having a captain amongst them, which after defeating them, dropped a medallion for the central plinth. Once all 3 were beaten and the medallions were placed, I was now free to leave with my second gem for the Shroud Breaker, and I was now so close, but I needed to rush back and hand this over to Salty quickly before the Fort of the Damned went down. As I was sailing back, nearing my destination, another sloop sailed up to me, and little did I know that these would be my greatest weapon in the final parts of this tale. I told them that I was on a tall tale, heading to the shores of gold, but once I had handed in this gem, they were more than welcome to join me in taking on the fort. To my surprise, they quickly agreed, and after finally handing in this gem and hearing all that Salty had to squawk about, we both set off heading straight towards the fort with the intention of ramming into whoever was there. Head first we sailed straight into them, and whilst I was attempting to use some kegs in which I had found, they were all calling for a truce, and should I break it, I would have to face up against a sloop and a galleon alone. I blew up the kegs far away from the boats so they could not be used against us, repaired my ship, and then as we discussed, we all went onto the island to defeat Greymarrow. I tried to devise a plan on how I could get away with the Chest of Legends, however I did not have time, as he was swiftly beaten and they were already opening the vault. As the door opened, one of the members of the galleon ran in and straight back out holding a stronghold keg, heading in the direction of the ships. Honestly, I knew what was coming, but I wanted some chaos to begin so that I could work my way out of there quickly, and quite soon, as I expected, an explosion erupted from my ship. As the others were looking at what was going on, I quickly grabbed another keg, heading towards them in the hopes of sinking the galleon. However, as I got down into the waters, my ship turned over, trapping me and sending me away to another island. This was not part of the plan, and now I had to rush back on the Redbeard, stopping them from selling the chest. However, as I looked at the map, it turned out that my alliance members too had sunk. We both sailed back towards the fort, keeping an eye out for the Reaper galleon, and as my friends sailed behind them, I sailed ahead, cutting them off from selling at Reaper's hideout, until finally, they decided to take their chance and sail straight for me. This would be their undoing, however, as both sloops were now either side of the galleon, firing over and over into them. I decided to ram their vessel and dive on board. I ran around taking out 3 of the Reapers by myself. And as water filled their ship, they had quickly and finally sunk, and all of that loot was now ours for the taking. As we got there, however, some of the galleon crew was still trying to make off with the treasure, so quickly we dealt with them and got everything else on board. Originally, I had planned to try and sneak the Chest of Legends onto my own ship. However, these pirates were too kind and said that we could split the loot and I could take whatever I wanted, even letting me have the Athena for myself. As we were about to sail off, however, it appeared that the galleon had returned and we were not willing to lose this treasure now, so we spun around to take it on once again, but it appeared that this time they were prepared. This was a long naval battle with many failed boarding attempts, from them throwing me off course, ending up on the galleon's broadside. However, we both managed to keep afloat as a skeleton galleon arose from the seas, firing grog balls at us. It's safe to say that this one was a close and messy fight, all ships struggling to stay above the water, until I knew what I had to do. I made a final boarding attempt, and after successfully doing so, I began taking them out again, one by one, over and over. Anchoring them as my allies fired more and more cannons, leaving them with more holes until once again, we had beaten this galleon for good. We arrived back at the Reaper's hideout, selling all of the treasure, including the one funny blue chest that I was after, before a brigantine sailed up, and as we told them of our tale, they were rather impressed as we all enjoyed the company of each other for a while, drinking grog and exchanging more stories. But now I guess it was time for me to get back to what I was supposed to be doing, and make my way ever closer to the shores of gold. That's all for this tale, and if you enjoyed it, be sure to check out my Twitch where you can catch more of my journeys live, or join my Discord to tell me of your own. But for now, I've been Captain Daddy, and until next time, arrgh!